Human Torch. In Fantastic Four, the first major manifestation of Human Torch's powers happens in the most Johnny Storm way possible. After the space mission where the team is hit by cosmic radiation, each member starts showing strange physical changes. Johnny still has no idea that his body has been altered. He simply heads to a ski resort to go snowboarding like nothing happened. During the ride down the mountain, he starts to feel a strange heat in his body. At first, it just feels like adrenaline from the run, but it quickly turns into something more serious. That's when he loses control and falls off a cliff. During the fall, the turning point happens. Johnny's body bursts into full combustion. Flames cover his arms, face, clothes, everything. The impact with the ground creates a melted crater in the snow, with steam rising everywhere. The guy literally discovers he can turn into a human torch, and his reaction is a mix of shock and excitement. This contrast is interesting within the team. While Mr. Fantastic tries to understand everything scientifically, the Thing panics, and Invisible Woman reacts with caution. Johnny immediately embraces the power.
Now picture that, but everywhere.
Uncontrolled vision. In X-Men Apocalypse, the origin of Scott Summers' powers happens in the worst possible place, a school full of people. Scott is still a teenager trying to live a normal life. During a regular class, he starts to feel a strong pain in his eyes. At first, it's just discomfort. Then it turns into an intense burning sensation. He rubs his eyes several times, trying to ease it, but it only gets worse. While he's trying to deal with it, a bully starts provoking him, thinking Scott is messing with his girlfriend. The teacher notices that Scott isn't okay and tells him to go to the bathroom. But the problem is far from over. Scott runs into the bathroom, and then the bully shows up again, continuing the harassment. That extra stress becomes the final trigger. When Scott opens his eyes, a massive explosion of energy erupts. The blast tears through the entire bathroom, destroying everything in its path. Scott immediately panics. He covers his eyes with his hands and realizes something terrifying. He can't open his eyes anymore without firing that energy. Ghost Rider. In Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze's first transformation into the Ghost Rider is anything but heroic. It actually feels more like a body horror scene. He doesn't activate powers. He's basically taken over by a curse. Johnny is a famous stunt motorcyclist who, years earlier, made a deal with the demon Mephistopheles to save his father. As always with these supernatural deals, the time comes to pay the price. When night falls, the demon comes to collect his debt. Johnny starts to feel something strange in his body. First comes the heat, then an unbearable pain, like his blood is literally boiling. His body begins to collapse. Fire starts coming out of his skin. He screams in pain and completely loses control. At that moment, Johnny is practically dragged toward his motorcycle. As soon as he touches the metal, another transformation happens. The bike changes too. The Ghost Rider is born right there. Johnny rides through the garage, smashing through walls and speeding into the city streets. The important detail is that he's not riding by choice. The one in control is the spirit of vengeance. Hidden power. In Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2, the moment Star-Lord finally understands the true scale of his power happens while fighting his own father. And not just any father, Ego the Living Planet, literally a living planet with a god complex. For most of the movie, Peter Quill believes he has finally found answers about his origin. Ego explains that he's half celestial, an incredibly powerful cosmic being. But everything falls apart when Ego calmly admits that he put the tumor in Peter's mother's head. Why? Because he loved her too much, and that was interfering with his plan to take over the universe.
It broke my heart to put that tumor in her head.
Peter's reaction is immediate. He starts shooting his father mid-conversation. That's when his celestial power truly awakens. Because he's connected to the planet's core, Peter can manipulate the energy known as the light. Instead of just fighting, he starts creating massive structures made of rock and energy. In the middle of the battle, Peter creates a giant Pac-Man to bite Ego. The joke works because Peter was taken from Earth as a child, so all his cultural references are stuck in the 1980s. But behind the joke, there's something interesting. The movie turns cosmic power into something personal. Peter doesn't fight like a god. He fights like a guy from Earth using childhood memories. While Peter keeps Ego busy, the Guardians try to destroy the planet's brain with a bomb planted by Groot. Ego warns that if that happens, Peter will lose his celestial powers, and his answer sums up his character perfectly. Becoming mortal again is no problem, if it means saving everyone.
What's so wrong with that? No!
Bone Claws. In X-Men Origins Wolverine, the discovery of Wolverine's powers is a traumatic moment that happens when he's still a child. The scene takes place in 1845. James is a frail, sick boy, always stuck in bed trying to recover. By his side is his friend Victor Creed, who would later become the feared Sabretooth. Up to that point, it feels like a simple family drama, until the night turns into chaos. A man named Thomas Logan storms into the house completely out of control. During an argument, he shoots John Howlett, the man James believes is his father. The emotional shock is immediate. The boy witnesses everything, and then the mutation happens. James screams in pain, and something unexpected emerges from between his knuckles. 3 bone claws extend from his hands for the first time. Confused and consumed by rage, he runs toward Thomas Logan and attacks him. The blow is fatal. But before dying, the man reveals something even more disturbing. John Howlett was not James's father. He was.
It wasn't your father.
This scene perfectly captures Wolverine's origin. His power is born from trauma, not choice. It's not a heroic moment. It's a brutal accident that changes his life forever. After that, James flees into the forest with Victor. Over time, they discover another ability, a healing factor. Wounds close in seconds, bullets can't kill them. Decades pass, wars happen, and they remain alive. The transformation of Hulk. In 2003's Hulk, Bruce is alone late at night, trying to work while dealing with a flood of repressed memories from his childhood and the gamma radiation accident that altered his body. Little by little, these memories begin to invade his mind. It's not a sudden scare, and it's like his brain is short-circuiting. His body reacts along with it. His hands start shaking, his heartbeat speeds up, and the camera focuses on his eyes. Suddenly, the brown disappears and a strange green glow appears. It's the first sign that something is completely out of control. What's interesting about this scene is how the movie treats the transformation almost like body horror. Bruce doesn't become a hero. He panics. His body grows, muscles expand, and his clothes start tearing as he tries to hold on to the lab equipment. When the transformation is complete, the Hulk appears more in shadow than in light. He then starts destroying the laboratory. This approach was very different from what came later in the Avengers films, where the transformation became more of a controlled power. The movie also tried to mimic comic book visuals by using split screens during parts of the transformation. The idea was to recreate the feeling of reading different comic panels. Test jump. 2002's Spider-Man, the moment finally comes when Peter Parker decides to find out if that web that shot out of his wrist is actually useful or just some weird accident. And after climbing a wall, he goes up to the rooftop of a building in New York. Still dressed like a regular teenager, Peter starts jumping between buildings in an incredible way. Then he stops and tries to shoot a web. Nothing happens. What follows is a sequence that became an eternal meme among fans.
Up and away, Web! Shazam! Go! Go! Go, Web, go!
After a few failed attempts, he finally gets the right move, 2 fingers pressing against his wrist. The web shoots out with force and sticks to a crane ahead. When he pulls on the line, he realizes something insane. It actually holds weight. Then comes the classic moment, the leap of faith. Peter runs and swings for the first time. For a second, it feels epic, until it's not. King of the Seas. In Aquaman, the first major hint that Arthur Curry is not a normal kid happens inside an aquarium. During a school field trip, young Arthur is observing the sea creatures swimming in the tanks. Then 2 bullies push him against the massive glass wall of the tank. Arthur is trapped, his hands pressed against the glass. That's when something strange happens. Inside the tank, a massive great white shark suddenly changes direction and swims straight toward the glass, hitting exactly where the bullies were and cracking the structure. The scare is immediate. Within seconds, several other sea creatures line up behind Arthur, as if forming some kind of aquatic bodyguard. Visually, the scene is simple but extremely effective. The final shot shows Arthur standing still, with all the fish behind him. A frame that basically says, this kid has the entire ocean on his side. You better run. The first kiss. In X-Men, Rogue's discovery of her powers is one of the saddest in superhero movies. While many heroes discover their abilities in exciting moments, her first encounter with her power happens during something completely normal. Her first kiss. Marie is a regular teenager living in Meridian, Mississippi. She's in her room talking with her boyfriend, David, until the two decide to kiss. But the mutant universe has other plans. As soon as their lips touch, something starts to go very wrong. Her power, absorbing life energy and memories through physical contact, activates automatically. David starts going into shock, while Marie panics, not understanding what's happening. What should have been a romantic moment turns into a disaster within seconds. This is a key detail about her character. Unlike heroes like Spider-Man or Captain Marvel, whose powers are presented almost like an evolution, Rogue's power is treated like a curse. Human touch, something basic for anyone, is simply not possible for her. The scene ends with her parents rushing into the room and finding David unconscious on the floor while Marie is completely terrified. Later, the movie reveals that he remained in a coma for weeks.
The first boy I ever kissed. Ended up in a coma for 3 weeks.
Magneto's awakening. In X-Men First Class, the first manifestation of Magneto's power happens in one of the heaviest settings imaginable, the Auschwitz concentration camp in 1944. Before becoming the powerful leader we later see, he is still just Eric Lenzher, a Jewish boy trying not to be separated from his family. As they arrive at the camp, Nazi soldiers begin separating families. Eric tries to hold on to his mother's hand as the crowd is pushed in different directions. When a guard drags her away, the boy falls into complete despair. That's when the trauma awakens his mutant gene. As Eric stretches out his hand trying to reach her, the metal gate behind him starts to bend. Chains rattle, iron bars twist, and several guards have to hold him back to stop him from moving forward. The power is completely instinctive. Eric doesn't even understand what's happening. This scene works as the emotional origin of the character. Unlike many heroes and villains, Magneto's power is born from anger, loss, and trauma. That explains a lot about his worldview years later. First Class expands on this moment even more. We later learn that the scientist Sebastian Shaw recognizes the boy's potential and decides to test him. When Eric fails to move a metal coin using his powers, Shaw kills his mother right in front of him. The result is a devastating explosion of magnetism. Chaotic subway. In The Amazing Spider-Man, young Peter Parker realizes that something is very wrong with his body, and it happens inside a crowded subway. This comes right after the famous bite from the genetically modified spider at Oscorp. On the train, he dozes off for a few seconds, completely exhausted. A guy places a bottle on his face. A single drop of liquid falling onto his forehead already triggers an intense reaction. He wakes up way too fast, and the chaos begins. Without realizing it, Peter sticks his hand to a woman's shirt and accidentally rips it off, creating a super awkward scene. When a few guys decide to confront him, another classic element shows up, the spider sense. The world seems to slow down. The attacker's movements become predictable. Even though he tries to avoid a fight, Peter's body reacts on its own. He starts using the subway bars for support, dodging and jumping like an improvised acrobat. And here's what sets this version apart. Andrew Garfield's portrayal emphasizes agility and reflexes much more than brute strength. That brings the character closer to the original comic style created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, where Spider-Man was always more like an urban gymnast. Power unleashed. In Captain Marvel, the true moment Carol Danvers discovers her power happens inside her own mind, and that's exactly what makes this scene so powerful. After being captured by the alien race known as the Kree, Carol is brought face to face with the mysterious Supreme Intelligence. The entity takes the form of Mar-Vell and begins a heavy psychological game. The message is simple. Carol is only powerful because the Kree allowed it. Without them, she would just be human, weak and limited. And here comes the cruel detail. The Supreme Intelligence points to the device on her neck, the so-called power inhibitor. According to the Kree, it helped Carol use her energy safely. But the truth is the exact opposite. As the entity shows multiple memories of Carol failing, falling off a bike, struggling in military training, crashing a plane, the movie flips the perspective. The montage highlights something more important. Every time she fell and she got back up. That's the turning point. Back in the real world, she removes the limiter from her neck. Cosmic energy explodes around her body. Her eyes glow, surrounded by a golden and blue aura, her hair floating. It's the famous binary mode. This form comes directly from the comics created by Roy Thomas and Gene Colan. So, can you think of any other superhero power discovery scenes that should have been here? If so, drop a comment and let us know. On screen right now, there's a video where we show the best X-Men transformations in the movies. Click and check it out. I'll see you there.